We had fans for the first time. Food and beverage, Rams, Vice President. Hi, I'm Dan August with the Los Angeles Rams, Vice President of Strategy and Ticketing. I oversee our ticketing group as well as food and beverage, merchandise, and our strategy and analytics tied to game day. A lot of my job deals with how do we interact with our season ticket members. And so today I'm going to lead a session on community engagement in professional sports, specifically fan engagement. If you have questions as we go along, there is a Q&A area, and at the end, I'll go through there and answer any questions that I can. So here's what we'll run through. Rams, Vice President. Hi, I'm Dan August with the Los Angeles Rams, Vice President of Strategy and Ticketing. I oversee our ticketing group as well as food and beverage, merchandise, and our strategy and analytics tied to game day. A lot of my job deals with how do we interact with our season ticket members. And so today I'm going to lead a session on community engagement in professional sports, specifically fan engagement. If you have questions as we go along, there is a Q&A area, and at the end, I'll go through there and answer any questions that I can. So here's what we'll run through, kind of the impact that we had through the pandemic, virtual engagement project that we're thinking about, how we searched for a partner, how we found a partner in CNX, where we're at today and where we're heading. And really to kick it off, we won the Super Bowl. So a lot of this, it's a great time as an organization. Things took priority as we were going along, but we have a great launching pad for this, which is an amazing platform for us to grow on. The goal is to do this every year, but clearly this was a great one to do it in our home stadium. So a great way to celebrate. We've kind of gotten off the high and are moving into our 2022 planning at this point, and thus here today to really kick off this partnership. So the pandemic. The pandemic taught a lot of us different things. I know for me, one thing it taught me is I don't want to be at home with my kids all day long, but for others, it taught them different things. On a professional level, for us, like the key for us as a business in sports is bringing people together, that kind of proximity to our fan base, bringing them into a stadium, giving them an amazing experience, bringing them to training camp, and kind of having everyone cheer as one builds an amazing atmosphere. It's what drives people on our business side to want to come to work every day, and it's what drives our players on the field. For us, we like to bring our sponsors or companies that pay us money to be close with our brand and we utilize to help grow our brand, and our season ticket members who pay for tickets to every game every year. We want to bring them close to the team in any way we can. And it's difficult to do that every single day of the year when you have 10 home games and 20 total, but we try to do it. And really, we're focused on how do you drive long-term engagement with your partners, your members, all fans throughout the world. And then how do you also drive revenue as an organization? Obviously, with the pandemic, we did not have fans at games. We could not do in-person events. And like many, we were wondering, like, what do you do? Do you just shut down? And we scrambled to start doing a bunch of live events and trying to find ways to keep people engaged with our brand, even though they couldn't be at the games. Obviously, they're going to watch the games on television, but there's the other 345 days of the year that they're not at those games, or 355 if you just count the home games. And we were wondering, what do we do for them? So like many companies, we dabbled in live events, on virtual live events, and figured, what could we do? And then how can we make it better to make it more engaging? And really thought, how does this carry forward? So we tested a bunch of things like other companies, and now we've really moved into the what do we do with it phase. But the money will always be in live games for us, whether that's television or people attending. So it's not something where we want to take away from those live games, but we want to enhance it and ultimately use it to drive people back to our games. So for us, we kind of thought of what do we have at that moment. So we had a website, we have an app, we have things that we were doing. It was a lot of great content. Our digital team does amazing work and keeps people engaged. But that community aspect is the difficult part. It's difficult to replicate what happens in the stadium, but we tried to do it. So during games, we did a second screen experience, which is our games would be on television, but we would try to have chat rooms, quizzes, things to just keep people looking at a second screen as well and talking to other Rams fans. There were some great things we learned from that, and some people enjoyed it, but the scale piece wasn't perfect, kind of rushed on the platform side. So some good things and some bad things. we started a season ticket member Facebook group. I think we're at 4,500 season ticket members who are in there. Again, great way to engage. We had some folks who don't have Facebook or didn't want to join, others who joined it, others who kind of fell off because the topic was just always one thing that people were focused on and other people didn't want to see it. So great starting points for us and really led to where we wanted to be. But we were really seeking a different level of engagement with our fans and our season ticket members, and just led us to a lot of thinking of, hey, these are great. We want to bring people together. What more can we do? And that kind of led to some of our planning. So initially on our own, we started some planning without speaking with any virtual companies. We just started typing things up of like, hey, this is cool, but what else could we do? So kind of the first thing we started with is there a single digital environment you could bring folks to? Yes, there's social media platforms out there, but those are more kind of, we're pushing out to others. The community build aspect isn't always there. And it's difficult if some people don't believe in Facebook's mission, they might not want to join, or Twitter or a different platform. So for us, it was how do you create a digital environment that people want to join and engage? We also wanted to be able to segment. So we have season ticket members who pay us money to attend our games every year, and we like to give them benefits for that. So we like to, and there's also information, there's certain things that they get that the general fan who watches on television doesn't always get. So we were really seeking something where we could have both. So it's almost like an inner circle at events. Other people want to be there. And we were really striving for that of how do we have fans can come together, but then they see the season ticket members getting something and they want that as well. The long-term desire of ours, really how do we bring people together throughout the year? That 365-day relationship is something that the NFL, Commissioner Goodell at the league office have talked about for many, many years. I was there for 8 years and remember being in endless meetings of how do you have no off season? How do you dominate all 12 months of the year, even though you're only playing for about 24 weeks of the year? So how do we enhance that relationship between us and the fans? So it's less of us speaking to them, but more we're all part of one community. And then how do we build on that relationship with our season ticket holders? How do you make it not just you're a season ticket holder, which is very transactional, and how do we turn that into you're truly season ticket members? It's something where you're coming down as a collective. You get certain things when you have a membership. And a lot of organizations, it's a little too much transactional in terms of you get tickets, you attend game, and then see you later after we take your money. How do we keep that going throughout the year so that when we're asking you for money, it's a very passive thing. It's like, oh, by the way, your bill is due. So that's really what we seek as an organization. And when we think of long-term growth, how do you continue that fan growth? You don't want transactional, you want engagement. And then the why is it important as we were thinking of the virtual environment? It's how do you take things beyond the stadium? Like I said, the stadium is there for 10 home games a year. In this case, this year it was 13 with 2 playoff games in the Super Bowl. But in general, you have 10 home games a year and you need to find ways to keep them engaged. And you can't do live events everywhere else. It costs a lot of money to do it. And Los Angeles is very large, so it's difficult to just keep bringing people together. You can keep going to different pockets, which we aim to do, but that's a very difficult thing to do. We also have season ticket members all throughout the world. We have season ticket members in Seattle. We have some in Vegas. We have some in New York who fly in for every game, or Boston, some in Mexico. So how do you have a place virtually where those people can come together throughout the year? They can plan also what they're going to do when they attend the game, or if they're not season ticket members, they can plan out where they're watching the game. So bunch of different things that led to why we wanted a virtual environment. So some of the elements that we were looking at, and some of these I've mentioned a little bit, but season ticket member STM hubs. So how do you have a location where they can get key information and connect with one another so they can get to know, oh, who sits in my section? So obviously for us in stadium, you get to know people who sit near you, and hopefully you like the people who sit near you, and that drives you to want to come back because you don't want to leave your friends. And hopefully those are people when there's an away game you watch with. So how do we have that? Plus, how do we get a place where we can feed them information that's not just in the ticketing system? Because again, ticketing might be a little transactional at time. How do we create a hub where we can feed them information? They can speak with each other and get to know one another. They can think about how you carpool to games. The chat room piece. So this is kind of key functionality that we look for is if you're at home watching a game or it's the draft and you're watching at home, how do you connect with others and talk about it? Like last year, last February or January, we traded for Matthew Stafford. A lot of chatter. How do you have a place where the fans are seeing it? And ideally, they can engage with one another and talk about how great that trade was going to be and how it was going to lead us to a Super Bowl. And those people can then claim that they're right a year later. So, and then the piece of that, as we think of the season ticket members, is what I hit on before of how do you get to know people in your section or who live near you so you can start your planning for the game and get to know and try and have meetups otherwise. So really making it a bit stickier to be a season ticket member. The matchmaking aspect was something we had spoken about of how can you be connected with folks, because it's tough when you have thousands upon thousands of members like we have. It's tough to just keep clicking on profiles, but is there a way where you can put in things about yourself? Hey, I'm active or retired military. It'd be great to know people who are Rams season ticket members who have similar backgrounds to me and did similar things, and we can get to know each other and become friends because we have the Rams as a piece of what we both love and enjoy to do. The hybrid events. So how do you scale some events? So there's going to always be virtual. There's always going to be in person, but how do you take those in-person events and scale them more? Because at times you can only have a venue that has a few hundred, a few thousand people, but you'd like to reach people beyond there. So you don't want it to be confined by the location when not everyone can get there. And really those hybrid events are the wave of the future of where you want to be so that you can get that scale, but also get the in-person experience as well, which might just be, hey, because you're a club seat member with us, you have the in-person, or because you were chosen this random time, you get the in-person piece. But everyone else can still engage so that they're not necessarily missing out on everything. The socialization part, how do you still take the content? So how do you bring things in from here? We still want people to go to our website. There's so much information and content on our website, but how do you feed some of that in here so that as people are engaging, they can see that top content? It will link them back to our website. Same thing with social media. How do you get some of that in here? So as you're engaging, you could be seeing that content and it's in one place for you. So making things easier. The information gathering piece, big one for us. It leads into the matchmaking, but also leads into how we're running our business. So if we can capture data about our fans and how many people have kids, how do you use your tickets? Where do you live? Obviously being a big one. We can start tailoring what we do. Who are your favorite players? So when we plan our events, it's okay, should we do a player focused, or is there something that in the Inland Empire in the LA area, we should be doing more there based on what people say? We don't always capture the marketing system because again, we get the pieces that we need from people. But in this environment, a really social environment, seeing what information people would like to share about themselves like they would on social media platforms. Some of it they might not want to share with others. They might just want to share with us. And then we can use it to better tailor their experience, both on a virtual platform, but as well in person as piece too. And then the game day second screen. So I hit on that before. What we did during the pandemic wasn't necessarily perfect, but what we did learn is still it's great to have a place where fans can come together for home and away games. So we still think the experience in stadium is second to none, especially at SoFi Stadium. And if you guys haven't all been there, highly recommend it. But that at-home experience, when you have half of your games are away, how do we provide a place for people to connect? And it might be, hey, you're talking about where you're going to meet up. But then if you can't meet up or you live elsewhere, how do you still find a way to chat and engage with one another and talk about the game? Because you might not have people that you're watching with, but you could feel like you're watching with them. And instead of texting with your friends, you're in a chat room with 10, hundreds, thousands of people talking through it and having different ways to connect. So as we wrote a lot of this down, we started thinking, how do you find a partner for it? So a lot of companies, I think, sprouted up during this time. Some people would tell us, yeah, we could do this. Others would say it's very interesting, but we're not sure we want to take this on because things are cruising right now. I mean, we're in the pandemic. Everyone wants to do a bunch of virtual events. So we spent a lot of time seeking a partner for this. And we almost gave up, to be honest. We were talking to different companies and it just wasn't fitting what we wanted. You didn't have that connection that I think we all seek when you're looking for a company to work with, where it's almost a mind meld to a bit of you see what you could do, and then you see kind of what might be out there in the future and someone who wants to push the boundary. So we were really thinking of companies that, hey, how do you deliver an event that's very easy to do? It's not just one-off things, not just setting off a Zoom, because we were doing just Zoom events here and there, but how do you keep it as a place and people can come back to, they get comfortable with it, and it's an easy thing for us and easy for the consumer as well. How do we build something that's year round? Like I said, we don't want to be a business that it's the 10 to 13 days that you attend games in person. We want to be year round so that people always have that connection point to us. And the connection point's not just consuming our wonderful content, but is also engaging with others who are like-minded in their Rams fandom. We want something that could be very branded Rams. So when we were doing Zoom events, and not to offend Zoom, great platform and what they do, but we couldn't really brand it the way we wanted. And for us as a company, we did a rebrand a couple of years ago, and we really want that to take in a very competitive market in Los Angeles. We want every opportunity to showcase our brand, and are really proud of that. And then how do we have something that's flexible as well? So it could do different types of events as we think through it. Not every event's going to be the exact same of speaker speaking, but some might be a little more engaging. Some might have Q&A, some might not. Some might be recorded, some might not. So trying to just think of different ways. Standing the test of time, a big one for us. So wanting a company that would want to grow with us. So we'd be kind of co-invested in how we continue to grow. It takes both, it takes two to tango, so to speak. But how do you have someone who's invested alongside you in building this out, and hopefully someone that continue to grow beyond the Rams? We're a company who there's definitely times when we see what other teams are doing in the sports landscape and say, we want to do that, we want to copy that, which is great. And there are other times when someone's not doing it and we want to set that standard, and we want to be a company who sets off and tries something new. It's not always going to work, but a lot of times it does, fortunately. And then you learn from your fans and you adapt. And then others take it on throughout the sports industry. So we seek to be that industry leader, and one that people are following more than we are following them, but both are acceptable. And then someone who brings the know-how and experience. Like I said, there were companies that were popping up during the pandemic that we would speak with. And it's like, yeah, this isn't really hitting. The branding wasn't great. We wanted a company that really had the wherewithal to pull this off, one that had companies that they were working with, Fortune 500 companies or other sports teams, and trying to really find those companies. And the final bullet, we found CNX then. So someone here made a connection. I don't even remember how, and brought it to me and said, how about this? And we really talked through it, had a bunch of meetings. And like I said, it was a mind meld from that of here's what we want to do, and that kind of vision and flexibility. So pretty excited. After searching for a while, it was exciting to finally speak with a company who had a shared vision and was willing to try different things, be patient with us, because we were chatting, it was the beginning of the season. We didn't know it was going to be a Super Bowl run, but we wanted it to be. So I was one who would have the patience and understand, hey, to do it right, sometimes you have to wait. So very happy with that. So where we are today. So like I just said, successful 2021 season. That is behind us. So I think after a few days, we had a parade, celebration, great. It's behind us now, so we have to move forward. But it was a busy year. We had fans for the first time, still a pandemic going on. So we're working through mask changes here and there. Omicron's coming around. How do you deal with that wave of a football season, plus the wave of COVID-19? So definitely a difficult time, and delayed our plans. We wanted to do it sooner, but the patience, like I said, was something that we had to do. The basics now are in place. So as we see it, we've worked back and forth, our creative, our marketing team, our media team, our ticketing team, our partnerships team, a number of folks involved on our side to really get this going. And we feel like we're in a good place to really launch and start fan events. We're still kind of doing our testing phase, because when we launch, we want it to be something that is sticky. We don't want to launch and have too many tweaks after then. We'll always have improvements, but we want to make sure we have all the basics. So we're planning for mid-April, give us time to promote fan events and go from there. And we'll have things for our partners, for our sponsors, for our season ticket members and our general fans. And then we'll grow from there. A lot of things you grow as you go, but we'll get ready for it. So I know this is me speaking to others, but hopefully it's ready for a sneak preview. So hopefully people are. I'm going to kind of show you some of the screens and the looks that we have at this point in time. So here's the branded environment for us. So I know it's tough to know everything when you see a screen, but on the right, you look at something that would be the first place that people hit. So how do you log in, or how do you get to a registration page? So trying to make it something that's not just a typical login when you go on a virtual platform and you type your name in and then you're entered and asked if you want to add audio, but instead something that really feels like our brand, has some movement to it, has some color, very vibrant, which is what as a brand we seek. allows you to put in your credentials. And even this might change over time to ease the process. People will then have the option to put in information about themselves. So to the point about the personalization and how we learn about folks, they'll be able to start putting in that information. They could do it later as well, but upfront, giving them the opportunity to engage and put that information in, which will be key for us. Kind of the top left screen, this is really the home ground. So this is the Rams house, so to speak, kind of the main lobby area almost, where people will go. They'll see something that looks a bit like our stadium and has our Rams branding there, has the ability to click into different areas. So very branded, looks a bit like you're attending a game, but has other elements to it. So it has kind of a business office next to it, just to have those kind of, you land in one place and then it's pretty clear to you where you can click to. There'll be pieces on the bottom as well where you can click and really know where to go as well. But having it look like as we've all wanted to look, and the team at 6NX has really worked on that. That's our creative team having input and a lot of back and forth, but really working to build it into something that looks the part and has people feel comfortable when they enter. Okay, I'm in a Rams place. I'm not in a different platform that the Rams happen to be hosting me on. I'm in a Rams house. That I'm in the virtual Rams house. The 6NX branding, like powered by 6NX, there's pieces of it, but they don't feel like they're in someone else's platform, which to us was just huge. If you tick down, you have kind of the 4 squares there. So starting on the top left, that looks like a town hall panel setting. That for us is where people go when they want those events that we'll have. You attend in there, you'll kind of know, okay, the event is coming. How do I get ready for it? And it looks like you're there in person. At times there will be events that others might be there in person, but we'll really work together to make it feel like something that you're there, similar to this, where you can have speaking out to everyone else and then chat functionality. But that's one we're really working through and proud of how it came out from a look standpoint. So people know what they're about to get into because they can see it. Going to the bottom left, this is an area where people are going to be able to kind of feel different content, be able to click and see on that TV screen. They'll have options that'll pop up to go to different areas. And it's almost like they're sitting on their couch and relaxing and checking out the different pieces. On the top right, they'll enter there, and there's going to be options of, okay, you're in our office. How do you go to different areas? How do you connect as season ticket members? How do you then connect out to other people who sit in the 100 level, the 500 level? How do we go from there and then get out to an area where you're chatting alongside folks and getting to know them? So again, more of a hub area, and then you can click out to specific areas, specific places to chat and get to know one another. As time goes on, this is one where you keep adding more elements that people click off to, but having places that look real in a way. So yeah, it's the virtual Rams house, but how do we make it feel like our company? Feels very LA, feels very open. We have a very open office space here, which you can't necessarily tell from the white walls behind me, but in general, a very open office space. So how do we make it feel and look like our branding as well? And then the bottom right is a kids zone. So for some of our fans, and we have it on our website as well, is the next generation. How do we keep them involved? So if you're a season ticket member or a fan who's logging on here, maybe your kids want to play as well. Maybe they want to have some coloring books from Rampage, our mascot. Maybe they want to learn about what new content, learn about football that might be in here from a content series standpoint. So we'll continue to have different elements that we'll be pushing on our website, and then we'll add them here as well so people can engage. And I think this one came out great, has our mascot in there, has a slide, looks like a fun area that people can go and engage. So really proud of the look of everything and think that it's a great step for us. So what's next? So once we launch, the plan is to have kind of a series of events. So like we've talked about, don't want one-offs, want this to be ongoing engagement. So when we launch, we want to let people know, hey, we're launching this platform. Here's what it is right now. Here's the vision of what it's going to be. Here's some events coming up. So we'll start with town halls with fans and season ticket members. So town halls can consist of a number of different things. So we're fortunate we have a business office that people love to engage with, our fans and season ticket members. And then we have a football side as well, which people really want to engage with more. They're just nice to us on the business side. And that's, hey, talking to our general manager of, why'd you make that pick? Why'd you make that trade? Where are we from a salary cap situation? How many games are we going to win? They want to talk to the team president and know, hey, is the food and beverage going to change next season at the stadium? So sometimes it's the airing of the grievances, so to speak. Other times more engaging in football talk. But our fans definitely love that aspect of getting to know it. And we've thought about doing town halls for years with our fans and season ticket members, and always struggled of what's the right venue. Okay, we're going to leave some people out. Can we just do a Zoom? We never got to a perfect outcome. And the beauty now is we can really handle that, be in a place that could take that on and broadcast it out as well. Virtual events with partners. So we have a lot of partners that we work with, and something we've heard is how do you bring one another together? And we've done in-person events, which they've really enjoyed, but those are tough. They're expensive. And it's not always the same level of individuals at the company because you can only have so many people at different events. So how do you provide a platform where more can engage, they can learn about one another, they can see what those other companies are doing and learn how they can kind of partner together at times as well, which could be them partnering with the Rams and each other, or they can partner and do business on the side. Part of being a partner or sponsor with the Rams is getting to know other companies and hopefully engaging, and it grows their business and it grows the Rams business as well. The season ticket member chats with people in their neighboring areas, both at home and in the stadium, things that we'll be hoping for, the in-stadium piece we're launching with. And then the chat ability. So the way for people to start chatting, start talking about the draft. Then we have the schedule release after that. So these kind of football moments are coming up. That's why it's a great time to launch in mid-April, because right now is a kind of a slow period. People are slow for the Rams, at least. Free agency will kick off soon. It'll get going. Already there's some big trades in the NFL and signings yesterday. So a good time to start that engagement and providing a place for people to come together. And then we really want to take all that, get fan feedback, and keep working together. So what we've talked about with the 6CNX team is, hey, we need to be nimble. And they agree with that as well. So taking the fan feedback, we work with a lot of our season ticket members, and we do focus groups with them. We have a group of 25 that come together basically monthly to talk about things on game day and on non-game days. And this is a big one that came up in our discussions with them of finding more ways to engage with other season ticket members. They've enjoyed getting to know one another, and they'd like to do that. And we've had these fan councils in past years as well. And what's wonderful is you now see those fans still meeting up before the game for tailgating or grabbing a drink. So they form those bonds that they wouldn't have gotten to know each other, because they might have sat 10 rows away from each other. They might live a couple hours away, but they share a common bond around the Rams. And what we see ourselves as a brand is bringing people together. So obviously a tough thing in this day and age to bring people together. But the beauty of sports is it's entertainment, but it's also unifying. It's people coming together. It's grown men crying over a football team winning a Super Bowl. It's an amazing thing to see. And it's how do you take that emotion? How do you take that connectivity to the brand and broadcast it across and really get people to come together so that they feel that passion year round and they really join up with like-minded individuals around their fandom for the Rams as a passion point. They might disagree on whether we should make a trade or a signing, but at least they all agree that they want the Rams to win the Super Bowl. So it's a great thing for us, and we'll continue to challenge ourselves of how do we get better. We do that every year on how do you get better on the field and how do we get better off the field. And this is an extension of that, of how do we continue to find ways to be the best. And the best in this case is how do you create something that brings fans together, brings season ticket members together, and leads to a high level of engagement. So Nick, you need a slide to just say thank you. So appreciate all of that. If there's any questions that you have, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll, I think in a minute, start answering those. Wonderful slide with a cool football figure saying, ask me anything with me. And then we'll do that. And then there's also, for everyone to know, the partner hall is open, I'm told. So you can also meet with others, meet with speakers, event specialists, and the 6CNX team as well. There'll be folks there you could speak with about this as well. So I will go to the questions now, I believe, unless anyone tells me otherwise. First, I'll grab a drink of water. So kind of first question I see on here. So international expansion, I think some folks read that. We kind of won home markets in other countries. So as a brand, the NFL typically has not let teams expand internationally. You really had to focus on your home market. So for us, the greater Los Angeles area. And then this past year, the NFL decided, hey, we, the NFL, are spending a lot of money to grow internationally, and we're not letting the teams do anything. What if we let the teams get after it? And if they spent their money, might that be something that can help the NFL as a whole? And we were a team that's raised our hand. It's been an interest of ours. A goal of ours is, how do you become a top 5, top 10 brand globally? Our owner also owns Arsenal Soccer Club and basketball team and hockey team in Denver, the Nuggets and the Avalanche. So he sees that with Arsenal, and we want to become that with the Rams as well. We're in Los Angeles, a prime market internationally. So we took part of that. We put in bids for Mexico, for China, and for Australia. There were a number of countries we could bid on. We spent a lot of time, put those bids in, and we're fortunate enough to win those markets. So as we think of international expansion, yeah, it's very difficult to do things in Australia that often. It's expensive, obviously time zone differences. So having virtual environments is key for us. So how do we do more virtually? How do we have games? How do we have platforms where people can connect? So we have a lot of fans in Mexico already, given the proximity to Los Angeles. And this is a key part of that, and something that we spoke about, the 6NX team. The person we're working with at 6NX has been based in Mexico. So it's a wonderful thing as we won the market of talking through, hey, does the platform work there? Can this really grow? So great thing, very helpful for us, and something that we'll continue to focus on, and see if there are ways where we can segment internationally as well, so that it's really different things that are focused on those markets. We launched social media platforms that are focused on those markets. So can we find ways to do this as well? Question right above that: did the players react differently when beating the GOAT, Tom Brady? I was not in the locker room after the game. We were fortunate. We beat Tampa Bay 3 times in the past 2 years. So I'd say the players, it's a big game. They were a great team. They won the Super Bowl the year prior. So I think it's less about Tom Brady. I think the level of respect that all of our players have for Tom Brady is immense. I think you always love to beat the team. It's less about beating the player. It's more about beating the team. And the final win that we had in the playoffs, that felt great just because it kept us going in the playoffs to eventually make the Super Bowl. So definitely happy and reacted differently. At the time, we didn't know he was going to retire after that game. So pretty crazy to think that his final game was against us, but no complaints. Question on, is Aaron Donald coming back next year? At our parade, Super Bowl parade, he did scream, "Let's run it back." So his intent is definitely to come back next year. We're excited to have him. He's greatest defensive player probably of all time, is what they say. Him, potentially Lawrence Taylor, but just dominance. He's an example, kind of sets a great example for us, for the rest of the players, and on the business side of really putting your heart and soul into this game. He's someone who he nonstop is working out, except for the couple weeks celebrating after winning, but just working on his craft, working on his body. How do you become the best? Studying up to do that, and really knowing that as an NFL player, your career is not forever. So how do you really dive in and fully take advantage? He's made plenty of money, but he was someone who was all about getting that ring. And now that he has one, it's about how do you get a second one? So how do you run it back? Obviously wants money as well, like everyone, but how do you continue that? So fortunate that it seems like he is coming back, everything he's been saying. So hopefully we'll be here again next year talking about winning another Super Bowl. Another question out here from Oscar, 2 questions. Is this only for season card holders or all fans with a ticket or the business club? And is this the beginning of our metaverse? So take the first one. This isn't only for season ticket members. So a lot of the initial ideas, at least for myself and my team, were around season ticket members and how do you expand the benefits and expand the engagement with the team. But as we work through it, that inner circle concept of having certain things that are for season ticket members, but then also having other fans as well, because a part of it is key, because we want to engage internationally, and not everyone can come to all of our games. Not everyone can afford to be a season ticket member. So we want there to be certain things that you get as a season ticket member, but we also want people to be able to engage with us, engage with our content, engage with one another, and they might see what season ticket members get and desire that as well. They might want to engage and learn about that. So definitely not a restricted platform in that sense, but certain elements to be restricted. In terms of beginning of our metaverse, I know that's kind of been something that keeps coming up more and more, and virtual environments in terms of being in those platforms are growing. Where this takes us, we don't know for sure. So when we started to work on this, we were not seeing what everyone else was doing on the metaverse, but could it be? Never say never. Kind of crawl, walk, run for us. And this is something that is important. And I think it kind of speaks to the same thing: is how do you engage? How do you engage virtually? There are different ways to do it. And for us, this is a great way that we see to do that. Question for Brian on, did you notice any constraints with technology being a barrier for any of your constituents? How did you overcome? Technology for our think of our season ticket member base, technology is something that they need to attend our game. So it's a mobile ticket building. So a lot of them get used to it. There's maybe one or two holdouts who really just don't have a smartphone. Technology is not their friend. They're on the older side typically. But otherwise, for our folks, they definitely get it. Facebook, for one, there's folks who didn't want to join just because they're not into that. They're not into the social media platforms, as they like to tell us. They might have issues with Facebook. There might be political reasons. So for us, it's less about the technology barrier necessarily, but more about platform and being platform agnostic in a way. To us was something that we learned. We don't want to dive into the reasons that people might not join certain social media platforms. We just want to bring people together around the Rams fandom. So the technology piece, we're pretty fortunate. You wind up with best-in-class partners who are great at what they do, make it easy for people to sign up. And we have a big fan base who is used to the technology. So feel good from that standpoint. Question on, football has become a year-round sport. How do you keep your fans aware of all the work being done throughout the offseason? I think our biggest fans are following us nonstop. There's some of them who start their own blogs. They're so into it. They know things before I even know on the business side, and before we're even able to announce, because you have the Adam Schefter's the world reporting, and then you have people trying to learn more and more. So we're fortunate in that it's become a year-round sport. I think March Madness is about to kick off, but because Aaron Rodgers was signed yesterday and Russell Wilson was traded away from our division rival, that's stealing headlines and people are talking about football. So we're very fortunate of that. Keeping our fans aware of the work we're doing. This is a great way to do that. Town halls are a great way to do that. So they know we're not just sitting here and not seeking to get better. And a lot of that on the football side, I think they know that. They read the news. They know that the football team, the draft is coming up. They know who we're signing. They hear the rumors. So they're aware that we're all in. Our GM, there was a slogan put to him of F them picks. So they know how we roll in terms of trying to always be the best on the football side. On the business side, it's a little tougher. I mean, we rely at times for our season ticket members on emails, but we want to be more in the space of engaging virtual environments, town halls, to talk them through what we're working on, how we're trying to improve different aspects of the stadium, because we don't rest. I mean, our off season is shorter this year, which is great. It means we won the Super Bowl, so we lost a few weeks of business planning. So we're back at it, already having meetings. How do we improve on the business side? How do we engage more, things like this? How do we make the stadium experience better so that people want to keep coming back? So something that we continue to work on, and this is just one of those steps of how do you get that word out. Was I able to ride on one of the buses for the championship parade? Who was on the bus with me? And what was something you heard or saw at the parade that nobody knows? I unfortunately was not able to ride on one of the buses for the championship parade. It was players and coaches and their families. So really, that was for the football side, those players to enjoy, and those coaches as well. That was their moment. So on the business side, it's great that we won the Super Bowl, but I'm also aware it was my job to help put fans in that stadium, make money so that we could pay the players. But ultimately, they're the ones who did the work. Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, Von Miller. Without those guys, you don't win a Super Bowl. I am a bit more replaceable than Aaron Donald by quite a bit. So did not get to ride on the parade. But for us, a lot of us were helping set up for the fan engagement side of things. So we had a stage set up. We had the players going wild. We had the buses going around. And then you had a big fan group on the parade route and then at the end as the players were speaking. So that was where a lot of our focus was. And it was great. I think what was amazing to hear was really the run it back, and having those players who, the teams, football teams every year, it's usually not the same team. So for those guys, the most amazing thing is just seeing them all come together, seeing the joy in their faces, honestly, of an Aaron Donald, 30 years old, put in the amount of work, still very young, obviously, in general terms, but in football terms, probably at the halfway point, hopefully, of his career, towards the end of his career. So he was thinking of retiring already. And just to see the joy. I mean, it's a kid's game, as they say. Sports are something you play as a kid, and to have that pinnacle moment in their career, it's amazing to see. It's what drives me and why I love to work in this business. It's the joy of the players working and remembering that it's a game at the end of the day, but it's something that brings people together. It's not something that's divisive, besides us with 49ers fans, but in general, not something that's divisive when you're all rooting for a team. That's the amazing thing for me, and what I loved seeing and hearing. And it's what makes me wake up each morning excited to go to work. I'm excited to talk to people about what we're hoping to do, and listening to our fans to know how we can get better. Question around, are there key engagements that signal a more committed fan with potentially more buying power for us? In terms of the buying power, we put the message out there plenty on how you can attend games. There's obviously willingness to spend. There's how much you engage with us. Are you opening our emails? Are you joining our training camp? Are you attending events? Might you have gone with a friend to a game? So you didn't pay for a ticket, but you've attended a game, and then you've engaged with us a few ways. At times we have other data that we're adding on to learn more about these individuals and learn about their buying power. So it's really a mix. We are fortunate that we have a bunch of people who raise their hand and say, hey, I want to go, I want to buy, talk to me about the different options. But then we have to search like everyone else to find those folks, unearth folks who maybe haven't thought about it because they don't know about the options that they have of how you can kind of spread your payments out over time. So we really work on those options. Could you speak to the possibilities of what is next once you have the environment up and running? I mean, there's some of the things we went through, kind of the town halls, the chat rooms. I think where we go from there, the options, we're not necessarily limited in what we're doing. I think for us, there's many places, and we'll continue to take that fan feedback, speak with the 6Connect folks, see what's out there in the industry, see what's happening in the metaverse, and try to keep finding ways of how do you get more ways for these people to engage? How do you find different things that they can really connect with the people? How do you deepen that engagement with the brand and with one another? So we'll definitely keep listening and keep going from there of how we improve. Last question I see on here, will fans be able to purchase tickets within the environment? So the plan is not to turn this into a ticket sales environment. So this is an engagement environment. Obviously, if someone wants to buy tickets, we will always find a way to sell them tickets. We have a partner in Ticketmaster, so all of our ticket sales take place through their engine for single game tickets, or if people are looking to buy season tickets, kind of be there for many years to come. We have those things that they speak with our reps here. If anyone listening now wants tickets, go to therams.com/tickets. So can promote that as well. But obviously it's something that is a focus of ours, and we hope that fan engagement leads to that. If you focus too much on the revenue side, you'll miss the mark for fans. So for us, it's really how do you focus on the fan engagement side, and ultimately that'll drive the revenue, and that'll keep your long-term brand strong. So I think that's all the questions that we have. Hopefully this was helpful, and look forward to connecting with people in the future. Thank you all.